as I said previously, I had settled on a load for 200 grain ELDXs for the 300 WSM, and that was going to be one of my loads. And then the other load that I was going to do was going to be 165 Sierra Game Kings, these new hollow point Game Kings, which I haven't seen before. But actually, I mentioned it to one of the guys at the range, Peter, and he said, "Oh yeah, I've used those. They work really well." And he's a pretty keen hunter, and hunts quite often on his land or his relatives' land. Here in Australia we call relatives relos. Yeah. Anyway, he said they were pretty good. But you know, after having shot those loads, this was last week, I was like, what did I settle on? I think 50.8 grains of Barget AR2208 with the 165 grain Sierra Game King. And then I was thinking, you know, what's the point of having a Magnum 30 caliber and putting 165 grain projectiles through it? It sort of defeats the purpose of having the Magnum in the first place, because I can do that with a 308 or a 30-06. So I had made 60 because I had those 60 Winchester cases. So I made up 60 of those 165 grain Game Kings, and then after I went to the range and I shot it and I went, yeah, I changed my mind and I pulled the whole lot, pulled the bullets out, poured the powder out, and I made up some 180 grain ELDX loads, test loads. But first up, I'll show you what sort of convinced me to stick with the 200 grain ELDXs, because last week when I shot those 165 grains, I did also take the 200 grains, and this is what convinced me. Hope you can see that. 0.6, that was first 3-shot group with 60.5 grains of AR2209, which is Hodgdon 4350, just bloody well mowing everywhere now. Sorry about the noise. And so that's cold bore, clean barrel, 0.6 of an inch. And then the second group, same again. This is after letting it cool, cleaning it, 0.6 of an inch. And pretty much very, very close to the same point of impact. Not much difference there. Because it's sort of, you've got to remember, I keep harping on about this, but it is true. What you can do with this scope, you're limited to what you can do with the scope, because it's only 12 power, it's got a very chunky hunting reticle. Yeah, there's not a whole lot, you know, it's not, I mean, it's not a long range scope, but hey, you can shoot long range with it. No problems about that. If you've got a decent sized animal, man, it is just so humid, like at the range, because I've just come back and the conditions were atrocious. Stinking hot, so it was stinking hot the whole time. The wind would go, totally disappear, then it would pick up and gust really bad, and then would get a downpour, a big, like really heavy downpour, and then the sun would come out, and then it'd be just, so you'd have like a really thick atmosphere to try and look through, especially at 300 meters, which is 330 yards. And then the sun would come out and heat things up even more, and you get the evaporation, and you'd get mirage like crazy. And yeah, the conditions were very variable, which is sort of, it's good to practice in those conditions because you'll learn how to cope. Like if you're in a place where the climate is just so stable and nothing changes, you probably become stale, I think is the correct word, but anyway, I'm just going to hydrate. Man, it's hot, it's humid, it is humid. So anyway, today, so I made up those 180 grain loads, test loads because I thought, you know, I'm not going down to 165 grains, but 180 grains, yeah, I'll do it. So 180 grain Hornady SSTs, because I had them, using AR2209, which is hydrogen 4350. Stop hurrying. Might just go and close that window. Be back in a sec. Alright. Close the windows, much quieter, hey? Much better, much gooder. Alright, so these 180 grain loads. So I was expecting it to do well, because if I can get, you know, almost half-inch groups, 0.6 of an inch groups, 3-shot groups at 100 metres with 200 grainers, 180 grainers should be thereabouts, because I did get some really tight groups with 165 grainers. So let's go through this. So I started off with 60 grains, and I've got 2 shots that are touching, that are on top of each other, and one over here, and so that's 1.63 inches, and I went, yeah, okay, what's going on there? So I've been very fastidious about having the barrel clean, because in a hunting situation, your barrel, it should be clean. If you go out for the first hunt of your trip or whatever, and your barrel should be clean, and it'll be cold or, you know, not hot. So I'm trying to recreate, you know, that scenario. So 60.5 grains, 1.4, and I was going, yeah, these things aren't going very well at all. What's going on? Is it just the SST bullet that it doesn't like, or what? And then 61 grains, 0.44. That's 3 shots. That's when I went, hang on a minute. Hold the phone. Then 61.5 grains. I went 1.1, but that one there I pulled, and I know that I pulled that. So I was adjusting the scope. That's why the point of impact looks different on these. I definitely pulled that one, and I noted that. Yeah. So it should have been less than an inch, easily. Then 62 grains, 0.72. Now the holes look different on some of these targets, and I'll tell you why. It's because some of these things got soaked. I had to drape them over the back seat to dry them, and because it was so hot, still so hot in the car, they did dry out. So 0.72, 62 grains. Yeah. 62.5 grains, 0.66. You've got 3 just like right next to each other. Remembering again that this is a chunky, it's only 12 pound, and it's a chunky reticle. 63 grains, 0.78. 63.5 grains, 0.4. Look at that. Look at that. Right? That is a clover leaf. A proper clover leaf. 64 grains, 1.3. You've got 2 almost in the same hole, and then one over here. Yeah, that was probably me. More than likely. This rifle is a lot more accurate than I am capable of shooting it with that scope. 64.5 grains, 0.52. So, I mean, but no, you know what? I've settled on the 200 grain ELDXs, and that's what I'm going to go with. Because in the beginning I thought, man, this thing's going to, you know, at distance I'm going to be lobbing a huge arc. But I worked out the holdover. So at 200 metres I'm holding it 2 graduations down. At 300 metres I'm holding 4 graduations down on this scope. Then I said, you know what, I'm going to test out these 200 grainers, the 200 grain loads are 200 grain ELDX using AR2209, which is hydrogen 4350, with 60.5 grains, using CCI large rifle magnum primers and a slight lead crimp, and not far off the lands at all. Very, very close. So I went, right, I'm going to shoot these 200 grainers and figure out what the holdover is, and I did figure it out. So the first group was 0.58, Look at that. I love these triangular groups that it does. You know, it's just wonderful. Then, I won't show that. I'll show that at the end. And then at 200 metres, so these are still wet. These reactive targets are still wet. Spider targets are still wet. So at 200 metres, I wasn't too all that worried about the sideways, where it went sideways, because the wind will alter that, you know. Just getting the elevation right. Getting the elevation right, and you won't have, the wind isn't going to, you know, smash it around too much. You'll be able to allow for the wind. So at 200 metres, 1.18. That's only a 2-shot group, but I didn't want to shoot too many of them off because I don't have that many, and you know, that tells me heaps. Then at 300 metres, again, I did adjust, like it went really far right for some reason, that one, and then these were way over here. But you can see that the elevation is correct. And this one was 300 metres again, and for some reason I was shooting way over here, I'm not sure. These were essentially just tests. I was trying to figure out where it was going. But so at 300 metres, yep, the elevation's right, yep. And then that was one, I think that was one of the last groups that I shot at 300 metres. I was aiming thereabouts. It's sort of hard with this red target, red and paper at 300 metres looks through this scope in really thick atmosphere with mirage as well, and it's sort of hard to figure out where you're holding. So that's at 300 metres, that group there, and that was 3.2. So you're still looking at, you know, I mean, you know, yeah. If you're aiming at a decent size out, yeah, it's going to be dead. So, have I said previously how much I love this rifle? This rifle just spins me out how accurate it is. Considering, you know, it was like the bolt, I had to change the bolt handle because the original bolt handle was totally flogged out. What that tells me is, I'll show you how much it moves. You see that? Huh? See that movement? So the bolt, even a new bolt handle is loose in this bolt, and it still shoots, you know, averages 0.6, you know, triangular groups of 0.6 at 100 metres, 0.58, lovely triangular group, and 0.6, lovely triangular group, and 0.6, even less than a triangle. So, I mean, the 180 grain is, yeah, some pretty wild small groups, but yeah, I'm sticking to the 200s. That's it. 200 grain, ELDXs, all the way. And I figured out the holdover, and I've got plenty of room there still on that reticle to go 400 metres. I don't think I'd hunt further than 300 metres really. 300 metres is a long way away, man. If you can't get within 300 metres, I mean, obviously if you're just on a completely flat track that extends for hundreds of miles, you know, you might have trouble, you know, sneaking up on an animal up to 300 metres, but by golly, any normal hunting situation, if you can't sneak up to an animal, you know, 300 metres, you should try maybe, I don't know, like chess. Yeah. So I just wanted to report, this will be the last time that you'll see me this year, because today's Friday, Sunday I fly out, and I'm not back until like the 15th of December. So I won't get a chance to have another shoot until the new year. I doubt if there's going to be any shoots after the 15th of December. But again, I just want to reiterate, this rifle just never ceases to amaze me how accurate and consistent it is, and how it tolerates different weight projectiles, different powders. AR-2209, 143.50 and AR-2208 Varget are vastly different powders, and it chews them up, no problems at all. So it's such a versatile rifle. I'm gushing again about how great this rifle is, but it really is. 300 Winchester short mag, it's a winner. I don't understand, and you know what? I can't buy ammo for it. Those 3 boxes that I bought of this crap, the Winchester deer season, and it was crap, as usual. That was the only 300 Wisdom ammo that I can get in Townsville, the whole city. There is another gun store, but he pretty much deals with professional shooters. He doesn't deal with, you go in there and he's got nothing. And I'm like, no, I don't stock it. No one buys it. Yeah, whatever. One thing I wanted to show you, spotting scopes. I've got a real issue with spotting scopes. Man, I've looked at spotting scopes that were like $2,000, and you look through it, you crank it all the way up, say 60 power, you crank it up to 60 power, and it just looks like you're looking through a dirty straw. The field of vision just goes, and it's just fuzzy as around they're shit. I don't know how much money you have to spend to buy a decent spotting scope, but it's insane. It's just, I don't understand it. How can you make, so here is my beloved Nico Sterling Hornet ED, 10 to 50 by 60. Now this thing cost me $600 Australian, so you're probably looking at about, depending on what the exchange rate with US dollar is, you're probably looking at about, I don't know, 450 US, 450 US, around that mark. Now, for that money, I've got a 50 power spotting scope right here, and I can mount it on a rifle and use it as for what it's originally intended for. But I mounted it on this tripod that this camera is on, right, and took it to the range and successfully used it as a spotting scope. It's excellent. And you get 50 power and you get clear, wide field of view. The field of view just doesn't shrink into a little, peephole, which is like man, you know what? I haven't had to look through a really, really, really expensive spotting scope. Like, I think you're looking at probably 3,500, 4,000 Australian plus to get a decent one. That's crazy money. This thing cost me $600. It does a brilliant job. And you know what? Peter, who I spoke about earlier, I said, have a look through it. He goes, oh, I like your spotting scope. And I said, have a look through it. And he had a look through it and he went, oh, wow, that's excellent. And I went, yeah. I said, if you see these things, the Nico Sterling Hornet ED 10 to 50, if you see that on special, snap it up. These are excellent scopes, like really good. So that's my little rant and report. So I just want to wish all my viewers and my subscribers, whatever your faith is, happy holidays. If you're Christians, Merry Christmas. If you're Jewish, Happy Hanukkah. I think Hanukkah falls on Christmas. I'm not sure. And whatever the other faiths have during the holiday period. So enjoy your holidays and your vacation, if you have a vacation during the Christmas period. Stay safe, and hopefully I'll see all of you back after the new year, and hopefully I'll be there to tell you something in the new year. You never know. I do have a very dangerous job. It is a very hazardous job, and I pretty much live life like I live every day like it's my last day, because you just don't know, especially with the job that I do and the way things are, around the world and that. So, but anyway, I'm getting a bit morose. I hope you all stay well. Hope to see you all in the new year. Thank you for viewing. Thank you for subscribing. If you subscribe, fantastic. If you don't, no biggie. So until then, see you later.